This is a download from BFM89.9, the business station.
Good afternoon. This is Feminist Fridays on The Bigger Picture, and I'm Juliet Jacobs. Many women are working in the sustainability space, but do these women leaders lack a strong support system and community? Joining me now are two formidable women working in the sustainability industry, EcoKnights President Yasmin Rasyid and The Body Shop Malaysia's Datin Mina Cheah-Foong, to discuss why it's important to empower women as leaders in order to achieve sustainable development, and also to discuss the immense social and economic impacts of closing the gender gap. Welcome, ladies. How are you today?
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. And I think just to start off with, I think people would like to hear the stories of how the both of you got into the sustainability movement and industry. Maybe we can start with you, Datin Mina.
The Body Shop has been sustainable even before the word sustainability came about. We've just always employed good housekeeping methods to run our business, and it's basically common sense. Doing something to make sure that you can last into the future is just really common sense.
Mm-hmm. And why was it that you were, because Body Shop is known for being, no animal testing, it's known for, all the good things basically that we want of our corporations. Why was it important for you to go into something like that?
I've always been quite aware of the world around me, and even as a child, I've always been interested in the outdoors, and I've loved animals all my life. And it's just seemed like a natural part of my daily living, my daily life, that, if I care about these issues in my personal life, why do I not care about it in my professional life? Many people come to work and seem to leave their wholesome self at home. They come to work and they believe that they need to behave in a certain manner, that they need to behave in a corporate manner. I don't know what that means, Mm-hmm. So I tell people, you are a whole person. Why don't you bring everything that you have at home? If you practice recycling at home, if you practice frugality at home, which is basically what sustainable is, don't consume more than you need. And coming from a retailer, that's quite surprising, right? But the thing is, that's where we are at. You don't use more than you need at home. Right? You're careful to save on your electricity, to turn off the lights when you don't need to use it. But when you come to work, all of that basic frugal habits gets left behind. Mm-hmm. So this was something that I found to be very strange, that people would come in and behave differently from when they're home. I mean, at home we are wives and mothers, and we look after our parents, and we look after, we make major life-changing decisions. Right? Where to go to school, which doctor to see, what therapies to use. But when we come to work, we leave all of that behind. Similarly, with this whole issue of sustainability, as far as I've practiced it my entire life, it's not different. Mm-hmm. You use perhaps different language. You use business language that people are more familiar with, more comfortable with, but I don't think the principles are any different from living your life in a wholesome manner.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful, I mean, and like you said, less is all that we need. We don't need more. The whole reason we're in such a big problem, the environmental problems, is because of our overconsumption, our overpopulation, all those sorts of problems. So it's wonderful to hear.
One of the companies that I admire the most is this company called Patagonia. Mm-hmm. And they actually tell you just buy one jacket for the rest of your life.
Yes.
And if you need to do it, repair it. I tell you, in Malaysia, it's so hard to get people to repair things. And also with progress, in the old days at the Body Shop, we used to do refills. And then we became more aware, more conscious of health and safety, which I guess is a good thing. So we stopped refilling because there was cross-contamination. You have to take responsibility. I think sometimes business forces us to do things that don't really, that you can try and encounter. So I guess there's still hope for more people to come into this sustainability arena, because refills, if someone can come and help us get through this challenge of how do we refill products cleanly and sustainably without creating more waste, because even when you refill, if the refill comes in a pack, you still have waste coming from that pack.
Yep.
So, it's in the old days, we'll happily refill your shampoo bottle with a cleanser, your toner bottle with a face, and thank goodness we never got into trouble then. But if we try to do it now in this day and age where we are more supposedly enlightened and aware, I think we'll be inviting a lot of trouble. But that's the challenge. But therein also lies the opportunity for people to work in this sustainability arena.
And Yasmin, you yourself, you started EcoKnights. Maybe you can share that story of getting it off the ground, how you did it. I think you almost did it practically by yourself, or?
Pretty much. I mean, before EcoKnights was born, I've always been quite passionate about environmental work, but I was a bit of a geek and a nerd. So I did a lot of the science, and the organization's work that I worked for required me to do more field work, scientific work. But I think the pivotal time came when I had to stand in for someone to go to a school to educate children. And my work at that time was river conservation and looking at pollution. And I was speaking to a bunch of 10-year-olds, and I felt like they were completely dissociated from what I was trying to say. Disinterested, because I doubt they had a recent trip to a river or actually even know what a clean river looks like. And I think that was the point where I realized, okay, I'm doing all this work, but then there's a really huge population out there that is not even aware, first of all, the work that I do, and what more would they know what actions they need to take. Mm-hmm. So before EcoKnights officially, grew bigger, I only did really, really small community works. We're offering free workshops, talks, simple things like dealing with food waste, or even just awareness. And back then was 2005, so my daughter was only about maybe 3-4 years old. So I did a lot of children's activities because I wanted to include her in. If I figured if I can educate other people's kids, I'll bring my kid along as well.
For sure.
And over the years, EcoKnights has grown to be a teenager now, and we're doing a lot more teenager-related programs because she's 15 now. So I'm kind of evolving with my little one as well along the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess, both of you are, well, obviously women. And,
Let me check.
We are a spectrum, we are like, we go from a whole rainbow.
Yeah. So how do you feel, both of you as women leaders, how do you feel you improve a company's financial, environmental and social performance? Do you think that as women, you bring a whole different dimension to your companies?
I think as women, we are naturally nurturing. We are used to multitasking. So it's not difficult for us to think about multiple issues simultaneously. Mm-hmm. We're used to, with all our lives, we've been trained to do that. So coming into a corporation, people, you look for employees, but people turn up. Mm-hmm. And people are the same, whether they're your sisters, your mother, your brother, all these requires emotional intelligence. And I think women have that in abundance. We need to learn to speak in a language that everybody understands. If you come into an office environment and say, oh, I love you and I care for you, people view you with suspicion, right?
Sadly.
But yes, but if you speak in corporate speak and say, I care about your career progression, and I think we need to have a talk about the interactions that you have with your colleagues, okay, then it becomes acceptable. I think that's where women have to learn. We need to not diminish, not suppress the skills that we have, that we've been trained from childhood, and this whole nurturing instinct, this whole mothering instinct, this whole developmental instinct. If we can bring up children to be useful members of society, why can we not develop our colleagues and our employees in the same manner to be honest, trustworthy, keep their promises, no lying. I mean, all these values are universal values, whether you are a human being or you are an employee. People seem to separate it out. And I think it is a lie that business forces you to do things that's against your personal ethics or your moral code. All of us have a moral compass. We know We should treat people with respect. There should be no bullying. All these things are taught to you as children. But when we come into a position of power in an office environment, sometimes we feel, we have to exert our authority. And how does that, in certain situations, it's bullying, right? So I think that's where the line comes in. People tend to keep their better selves at home. And they keep their higher humanness in their home environments with their friends. But with their colleagues, they seem to feel that it's a different kind of persona I have to put on. And I think that's the trap that a lot of women fall into. Because we're in an environment where the majority of C-suite people are men. Yeah. And therefore, you feel you have to behave in a certain manner for people to take you seriously. Unfortunately, in Malaysia, a lot of the times it's true. So, we have to get beyond that.
What about you, Yasmin? As a woman leader, starting this from scratch on your own, what sort of difference do you think you brought to your company? Because I know you mentioned adding your daughter into kind of your plan. How did you think that changed the course of EcoKnights?
I have to be honest, I don't have much of a business background or corporate background. So a lot of how EcoKnights grew as an organization it was just based on gut feeling and very instinctive. Mm-hmm. But, echoing Datin's response just now, I was just mentioning these three things to my staff yesterday. Respect, humility, and cross-understanding among colleagues. I think these three things, it's not just a value I wish people would have at work, but something they embody as well. Because one of the things I keep thinking of is, people move on in their career to achieve better things. And this one thing is always at the back of my mind. Have I provided enough for them today in this organization? Are their skills better today? Are they communicating better? Are they multitasking well? So that when they leave, they take the best of EcoKnights and what they've learned and innovate and contribute better to a different company. Mm-hmm. So that's always at the back of my mind. So I'm always happy when people move on, but I want to make sure they move on with these core values, because at the end of the day, people are going to look back and say, where were you from before? And I really hope, those that have been with us appreciate where I'm coming from when I teach these things. And we've also got a very laid-back culture. I made it that way because I don't have a nanny, so my kids are in and out of the office. Like lunchtime, they're normally in, that kind of thing. So I made it a very comfortable environment where any woman that walks in, especially single mothers, feel a sense of belonging. I don't want them to feel like they have to hide that child at home or feel like
kill themselves.
Yeah, or have two personalities, come into this and then, go out there. So I want it to be more family oriented. And I think it all goes back to the home values as well. You wash up after you use whatever you have, that kind of thing. So I hope, I'm not sure if this is predominantly a female thing. I certainly haven't heard many men saying about this in their office, but
I haven't. Well, actually, no, I lie. My boss, boss of BFM, he is very much like that as well. So yes.
It's good. Some feminine values are good.
I'm speaking today to Yasmin Rasyid and Datin Mina Cheah-Foong, and we are discussing women leadership in sustainability. And we will continue this discussion after this quick break. You are listening to Feminist Fridays on The Bigger Picture, BFM 89.9. Good afternoon. This is Feminist Fridays on The Bigger Picture, and I'm Juliet Jacobs. In the studio with me today are two very lovely ladies, Yasmin Rasyid, the president of EcoKnights, and Datin Mina Cheah-Foong. She is the managing director of Body Shop Malaysia. And we're discussing women leadership and sustainability, which is a topic that will be discussed at the upcoming Eco Film Festival, which is coming up just this month. Mm-hmm. So ladies, have you ever encountered sexism in your line of work?
All the time.
Same here.
But you can't let it bother you. You just have to go... you have to go beyond it. It's not so much conscious sexism. It's cultural sexism that I find that we have to deal with here.
Okay.
When, just as an example, if we go for a corporate function and I go with my husband, generally the men all go to one side, the women all go to the other. Okay. You bring your spouse along.
Sure.
And I find that just by osmosis, I don't know what it is. All of a sudden I'm standing around with a group of women. All right. And we're talking about maids. We're talking about schools. We're talking about household issues. All right. Very important. However, this is supposed to be networking. I'm supposed to be networking. So, that was in the early days, and I would stand there and men would talk and then women would be in one section of the room. But now what I do is I go in, I pay my dues, I say hello to all the wives and everything, and then I go off and do what I have to do with the men and whoever else that I'm there that I wanted to speak to or want to see or so on. I mean, is that sexism or is that cultural? You women are expected to sit. I've been to dinners where women are all sat at one table and the men are all sat at another table. And if you are, okay, fine, we have very interesting, very joyful conversations together as women. But if it is a work thing, right, and I'm there for a purpose, I have to extricate myself and I have to go. And I found over the years that if I immediately launch in and start, hailing all the men and saying, hey, this one we need to get together and all, there is an atmosphere that's not comfortable. And then I've got this reputation. Everybody will tell you that I'm a real fierce person and, she's like no holds barred and so on. The reputation comes because I decided that fine, if I'm going to get ahead with this, I have to play with the boys, right? And if I'm going to have to play with the boys, I have to be able to be physically standing in the circle or in the field where the boys are playing. And when you start to do that, you get a reputation of being very tough and actually, to be perfectly honest, when I was with women in my younger days when my kids were in school, I would feel so inadequate talking to the other mothers because they would know everything that was happening in the school. And I'll be there and they'll be saying, you mean you don't know that the class teacher changed? I said, I don't know. Oh my God, is the canteen closed? When did the canteen close? And I would be completely derelict because I didn't know. I never spent time in the school, and my child would, the things that we talk about were not the day-to-day happenings in the school. It was him, his friends, and so on. So I used to feel very inadequate. But when I went to talk to the men, at least I was in my element. I knew what I was talking about. So,
business, yeah.
Is that sexism? Well,
I guess it is sexism. It's very ingrained sexism, I would say, which they use culture to kind of excuse it. Like, as women, you're expected to kind of take the back role to the nurturing and all that sort of thing. But there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. And I want to tell women that it's okay. People will label you because people are more comfortable labeling people, putting people in niches and so on. And if you are happy, if you are comfortable with it, if you are true to yourself and your family and your friends value you, your business is progressing in an ethical, honest manner that you want it to progress, forget about the labeling. It will happen. You cannot control people's mouths. So let them go and do what they want and then you progress in the manner that you see best fit for yourself and your business.
Exactly. And what about you, Yasmin? I mean, both of you said a very resounding yes when you face sexism in the workplace.
Yeah, I think I get it a lot when they don't know me. I think it's also a little bit of a curse on my side. I think in my line of work, funnily, there are so many countless times where I'm either the only female on a panel or for some reason, this is such a male-dominated kind of world, right? And it's hard. I can't blame them for being judgmental as well. Until they figure out she's going to present a paper, she's going to talk about something, and then that perspective changes 360. So I think sometimes, you risk this of people just based on how you look, just giving that kind of judgment. I'm not sure whether it's called sexism or not, but there are certain inadequacies. Sometimes I feel as a female walking in. But I try not to, put that too much as a main focus because I think women are very cunning population. And I think sometimes being judged or being labeled can be very constructive for women in a very, I don't want to use the word manipulative, but it can actually serve a dual purpose.
Okay.
So not sure if I answered that correctly, but
I guess, I mean, it goes to the question, of how women helping women, sometimes if they see another woman on top, they're trying to, the women will try and fight.
get
There's
more
all
that with
this
women,
nonsense, what they call as cat fights and things like that. Do you think that's a myth? Or is that an actual reality?
I think it's quite a reality.
Okay.
I think you need women to grow, to develop. But in my last 5 years, I've also seen the other side of women that has it's quite an oxymoron, lah. But I think this is the issues that as a woman you gotta be smart about how you interact, how you engage, and move on. Don't let the negative aspects of being a woman, bug you down.
Mm-hmm.
Happily, I've had the opposite kind of experiences. All the mentors that I have had along my journey have been women. Mm-hmm. Is it because I purposefully seeked out women? I'm not sure. But I think it must have been also because women were more willing to share. Perhaps I found them more nurturing and more accepting, and I've had different experiences. In my company, my CEO is a woman, my COO is a woman. In fact, because we are in the cosmetics and toiletries industry, I find that most of my employees are women, which is not true of the entire cosmetic and toiletries industry in Malaysia. Mm-hmm. I think I am the only woman who's really truly in charge of an industry that sells mainly to women, 85% to women, but run by men. Mm-hmm. All right. So, but in my company, I think we are a company of women for women, and I'm very proud of that. And throughout my career, I've been thinking about this, since for some time now, about whether it is true that women are jealous of other women in their success. And I honestly, hand to heart, can say that is not true. I work with a lot of women in NGOs, and I find them to be generally very focused on the task, on doing what they want to achieve, and my mentors, like I said, have been women. So I really cannot think that women purposefully pull other women down. I don't think so.
Well, that's interesting. So, both of you have had very, very different experiences, but it's positive. It's nice to hear that what you're saying, Datin Mina, that, you had all these mentors. And how would you say working under a female mentor, do you think it would have been different had you had more male mentors? Do you think your approach to your business would have been different?
No, I don't think so. Like I said in the very beginning of this chat, I think you bring to your business the values that you grew up with, the moral compass that you developed within yourself. So I don't think it's changed me. I've sought out mentors at different turning points in my career, just to have a sounding board, and I think women give other women a special perspective. As women, when we make a major career change, we think of our families, we think of our children, we think of their schooling, the uprooting of their friendships with their people, their peers in school. We think of our parents, who's going to look after them and do the daily marketing for them. All these issues come into play when you talk to a women executive about a big, huge promotion overseas. Yes. Whereas with a man, they come back and they say, "Ooh, this is a big opportunity for me. Don't worry, mommy will work herself up. The kids will find a new school. They'll make new friends," right?
Yep.
So it's very different. So, I think women have a different perspective, and we come with a different mindset as well. So, these times I find women have an insight for other women. Mm-hmm. When I talk to another woman, she understands the cultural expectations of Malaysians, saying that the man is always the breadwinner. The man must go out to work. when you go and pick up your kids from school, in the times that I was working, you hardly find any men. Now I think it's fantastic. You find I go to the gynecologist's office and men are sitting there with their wives.
Yes.
When I was going during my childbearing years, no husbands went. Right, so all just so I'm so hopeful for this new generation of men that they are actually wanting, because I always felt that they miss out on so much joy and love and experience of being with young children growing up. All of a sudden they turn around, their career is zooming, but their kids are dooming, right? So, where did all that time go? So that's why I purposefully went to seek out women mentors, because they understand, they have a different perspective to what the issues that you grapple with,
Exactly.
You go and talk to a man, he's like, no brainer, man, just go. Go for it.
Straightforward.
And then you say, what about my mother? What about my kids' school? And then you know what they tell you? Oh, my wife takes care of all of that. So whenever people ask me, what is it that I want a wife.
Yeah. Sounds like a miss.
Right.
Yeah.
What about you, Yasmin? I mean, did you have female mentors yourself, or did you seek them out when you were starting out?
I think I have mentors everywhere here and there. Some of them don't even know I think of them as mentors. I mean, I secretly, when I look at someone, I really also dissect and analyze the kind of values that I want to embody, or maybe a certain characteristic, certain things that really inspire me or empower me. I don't really go actively seeking. I maybe seek subconsciously, but I also believe in just more divine intervention. And some people have always been by my side. I just never realized or even called them mentors. But I was just listening to you, Datin, and I realized it's just one person that I was just with this morning. Every time I'm down, or even I'm on a high, right? That would be the one person I call and get ideas, perspective. No offense taken, we can be very honest with each other. And I think it's necessary to have someone, at least someone like that, where you can not cross-check, but bounce ideas, maybe divulge a little bit about your mixed feelings or emotions, and get a clearer perspective from them. But I think at the end of the day, we're our own individuals, yeah? So we should be able to assess what we hear from, people outside as well.
Yeah. And also, I was just curious that, working in this line, both as, you're the front line, you're both women. Have there ever been situations where you think you were not taken seriously based solely on the fact that you were a woman?
Haha. Anybody who tries not to take me seriously when I want them to take me seriously will definitely know about it.
Wonderful to hear. Wonderful to hear.
And that's why I have a reputation as a tough nut. Right, but but that's just me.
And that goes to my other question. There's this thing where women must be likable, and if you're not, you're branded a tough nut. But if you, let's say, were a man who was just demanding respect, right, which is something that everyone does.
I try, Juliet. I try very hard to be likable. You know why? Because it is an asset. Whether you're a man or a woman, people gravitate to people that they like, right? And if you come across as being very uncaring, very unfeeling, very critical and all that, all those are negative aspects. So it's good to be likable. Right, in that sense, to have an open personality that people will want to gravitate to you and be with you. That is something that I try to cultivate, not because I want to use it as a feminine charm advantage. But if you have charm, if you have natural charm, it is an advantage. Life is hard enough already. And why do you want to work to be mean and nasty, right? So, but I do think that sometimes women tend to seek approval. We seek validation from outside. And that is a line that we need to understand that you need to be careful about being likable. It's just out in the news about Harvey Weinstein and how he was taking advantage of these young people. Now that is wanting to be liked, right? Wanting to be amenable, right? Wanting to not rock the boat. And then women get into these kind of situations. So you need to have very clear sense of self, of your self-worth. Nowadays, the world really is out there. There are so many things that people want, but work for it. Don't try and attain it the easy way, I get really upset by stories and people telling me about women who go and be and look for sugar daddies just because they want a handbag. Why sell yourself so cheap? What is this thing about wanting things early? I think also social media, don't get fooled by Facebook, by Instagram pictures. I mean, those pictures, they've taken like 26 shots of themselves and they posted one of them looking so eternally happy with, and these are all fake, right? Even myself, I don't post Facebook pictures of myself looking really like a wet cat, I only post when I think, today I'm looking really nice. Okay, I take a picture of myself. Oh, click, take the 27 selfie. Oh, that one looks like that. I post out and say, hello, everybody. I mean, come on, we need to understand that media creates false hype and illusions and not go for that, have integrity. Go for solid long-term success.
Yep. And what about you, Yasmin? Have you had that problem of, considered not being likable or, because sometimes when you speak out against things, let's say something that you didn't quite like, maybe that a male counterpart said, how has that affected you, if at all?
Sometimes I don't give two hoots, whether you like me or not, or based on what I say or what sort of factual information I provide. I make it a point to address issues that are of concern. And I'm very aware also that not everyone will like my responses. But I try to make it very clear where I'm coming from with my responses or with my opinions on things. But at the end of the day, likable or not likable, if you're going to address something common like sustainability or let's protect this river, we've got a set of differences apart and work together. So I think that's a dynamism everyone should be aware of or embrace. I think in this age and time, in partnerships, engagement is very critical. So if you focus on things that are minute, how you look, how people judge you and all that, then nothing really gets done.
Yeah.
I like me or not, I'm sorry, let's get down to the real nitty-gritty of
The real
things.
issue at hand,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Now I'm at an age where I call people out. If I find bad behavior, I will call them out on it because, there's just too much laxity. People are getting away with all sorts of rubbish and nonsense, Yeah. I'm now at the age where I feel, I'm not going to stand for it. If I don't speak out, who's going to speak out? Young people maybe have less personal power or they have less confidence to do this. I'm at a stage in my life where I really don't give two hoots about what people think about me. I've been there, done that for many, many things. And now if I see bad behavior, I will call them out. Strangers or friends. Well, that's why my husband says I have very few friends.
But, sometimes it's better to have a few good close friends than a bunch that, give you a 5-star rating, 4-star rating behind your back. This kind of friends can come and go.
And are you both mentors to women now? I mean, is that something that you're consciously doing, if at all?
I consciously practice that in my office because I'm not in charge of their day-to-day activities. So it's a little bit easier because if you are supervising someone, it's very hard to be their mentor as well as their supervisor. So because we have fairly structured office, I find that I have opportunities to do that with the people that are in my office, and I have an open door policy and I see are people developing and going there. So I do consciously seek to do that within my office, in my confines. But among my friends and my peers and so on, it's a less formal kind of thing. Like Yasmin says, people call me up. I always have time, especially for women, because, this thing about women being mean to other women, I really don't subscribe to that. And I think as a woman, then, the fact that it is out there, myth or not, means that it started from somewhere. And I feel that, as a woman, I need to dispel this, and if I have an opportunity to help someone, to give advice, my God, advice is so free and so cheap, I do it.
And you, Yasmin, you said you mentor basically everyone, but you have an open door policy, especially
I have pretty much an open door policy. I on the formal basis, people call me, some organizations call me in to do a bit of mentoring, whether it's, startups, entrepreneurship, or even just environment. But I'm pretty much an open door. And if it's something I can sense it's important for that individual, especially for a female, I will always try to make time for it. Because I've been there as well. I've been there, and I know sometimes it's not easy to actually decide to reach out also. It takes a lot of courage and guts. And sometimes you're not even sure you're going to get that kind of response. So I try my very best, especially with the interns, female interns, and my female colleagues as well. And strangely, a lot of the times when they come to me, it's really not about work. It's really about something deeper, something on a more personal level. So I'm happy, to always spend time with them on this. I'm not sure if I'm doing the right thing, but
but at least you're trying.
Yeah,
right?
you got to support each other as well.
Yeah. And within the sustainability movement, do you think there are not enough women players in it? Because I was reading some articles in The Guardian, and they were naming the top movers and shakers in the sustainability movement, and all of them were men. So they were like, where are the women? Why are none of the women being named? And I guess just on a local level, are you experiencing the same thing, that there's not that many women in this sector?
Actually, for me, right, when I go down to the ground, the females are the common champions I see, unsung heroes, and they're not really bothered about being named a top 10 or not.
Right.
So I think whatever that's in the top 10 listing is, whatever criteria that makes you get your name on that listing. But the more meaningful work that's on the ground, for me, in my own eyes, are still very female dominated. The male may sit on the pedestal, and I think the women that are doing a great job don't really care whether it's their names are not on the pedestal.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Women don't have the time to seek glory, We're too busy.
Yeah.
I'm tired already at the end of the day.
It's like, I'm not in that list. Oh, well.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all right. This list, to get nominated, you have to submit an application, and just to fill in that form,
20 pages.
my goodness, no, thank you. It's all right. I'm busy. So women are too busy.
Yeah. So I guess then, both of you are going to be at the 10th International Kuala Lumpur Eco Film Festival, and you're both part of a forum. Maybe you can tell us a little bit what's happening there, Yasmin.
So I think for the listeners, this will be the 10th Kuala Lumpur Eco Film Festival, and we've organized something very new. It's called the Sustainability Series Forum, and what it's going to do is basically highlight 3 prominent areas: women leadership and sustainability. There's one on talking about food for the future, and there's one specifically on youth leadership and sustainability. So the one that myself and Datin Mina will be part of is the Women's Leadership in Sustainability Forum on the 24th October, Tuesday at Black Box Publica from 1 to 6 p.m. Apart from Datin Mina, we have 4 amazing star speakers. Well, they're all women, of course. And I think the one thing
that's the women, yeah.
I conceptualize this forum because I think young women need to be a bit more inspired and motivated. Not that we don't have enough people here as role models and all that, but to come and feel the energy. And all the other speakers, like Datin Mina represents the retailing side. We've got other people that do wildlife conservation, architecture. So I wanted to bring the whole gamut or spectrum of sustainability that you can be part of. So it doesn't matter whether you're a businesswoman or you're a restaurant owner, or you're just a housewife, sustainability is something that you can pick and choose what you want to champion and embrace it. And one common thing which we always forget is we talk about sustainability at work, the corporate culture, fulfilling reports and all that, but we also don't realize sustainability starts from home. So I hope that these values will shine from all the speakers, and I'm sure they will shine. And I want this sense of belonging from the participants to look up to them and say, if they've never had a mentor before, here are 5, 6 amazing mentors. If you never understood sustainability and how you can incorporate in your corporate life or personal life or in a startup that you want to do, here are amazing ideas that can be generated. So we hope that we can attract not just females, but males to come along to this forum as well.
You know, The Body Shop is the single largest cosmetic brand in Malaysia. And people always ask me, what is the secret of your success? It's actually practicing sustainability. A lot of the times people think of sustainability as being able to sustain your business from one year to the next, right? It is more than that. And the thing is, the fact that we've managed to thrive, the Body Shop has managed to beat off all the competition and still be the leader and practicing sustainability, doesn't it tell you something about how you should conduct your business? Mm-hmm. I mean, nowadays, business is bigger than most governments, and businesses have reach that governments cannot get to. You can go and I found Coca-Cola right up on Everest Base Camp, the last place before Everest Base Camp, Gorek Shep, and there was Coca-Cola there.
There you go.
Can you imagine?
There you go.
Right? So business has got huge reach and potential. And if business leaders do not step up with to take moral responsibility for the sustainability of this planet, God help us all.
Yeah. Well said.
Well, thank you so much, ladies. That has been, I can feel like you said, I can feel the spirit. I can feel,
wait till you get to the forum.
Yeah, wait till I get to the
pack.
So the 10th International Kuala Lumpur Eco Film Festival 2017, that's happening from the 23rd to the 29th of October at Publica in Solaris Dutamas. Maybe Yasmin, you can just tell us what the website for that is if you want to get more information.
www.kleff.my or www.clef.my.
Okay.
And you can sign up for the forum, and also don't forget to check out the amazing range of films we have.
Okay, and the forum with the both of you and all the other ladies in sustainability, that's happening on the
24th of October at Black Box Publica.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, ladies. It's been such an inspiring talk.
Juliet.
Thank you, Juliet. Our pleasure.
I've been speaking to Yasmin Rasyid, the president of EcoKnights, and Datin Mina Cheah-Foong, the managing director of Body Shop Malaysia, and we've been discussing women leadership in sustainability. This has been Feminist Fridays on the Bigger Picture, BFM 89.9.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. To find more great interviews, go to BFM.my or find us on iTunes. BFM 89.9, the business station.